Hi Clive. So can I ask you first of all when you first joined Wickham?
Crikey, that's a really long time ago. I joined when my son joined as under nines, and I think my maths is correct, that puts it about 2003.
And why this club?
Why this club? A, because it's the local club, but the main reason was because I saw an ad for, I don't know what it was called then, it's called Give It a Try now, but in those days it was just, it was an open day down at Holcombe Rugby Club, and saw the advert for it and thought, yeah, Roland like that, he likes to knock things over, we'll come down and give it a go.
Okay. And you've had a whole season as DOR and you're entering your second season now. What's your vision for the future of the club and how do you hope to achieve it?
Yeah, a whole season of DOR. How's that happened, really? Almost as if by accident that I seem to be here for a second season, which is challenging. My vision for the future. Well, it's been quite interesting with Martin Good coming in and talking about a 5-year vision, and I started to think that maybe we should have a 5-year vision for rugby as well to be in line with that, because previously I've thought about what we're going to do next season, how do we make things better for next season. I suppose coming into this, my vision hasn't changed massively, in as much as I think we're a community club and we need to be the best community club in the area. I think we need to have players enjoying playing rugby, so more players coming down enjoying their rugby, and that we're a nice club, I suppose, really. There's no big thing about reaching the Premiership or having 1,000 players. We're just a nice club, and I want to make it a bit nicer.
So in terms of getting numbers, how do you see yourself trying to improve the transition into the seniors from the youth section? Is that going to change?
Well, I think it's absolutely clear that the junior section is the lifeblood of this club, and so that's why I think investment in the junior section is absolutely vital, and in particular investment in the transition from junior to senior. Yeah, absolutely. We occasionally get new players that turn up out of the blue that have moved into the area or something like that. But now, the one thing I'm most proud of with this club is how many junior players we have playing in the first team. If you look at the photo from last year, 60% of those players that are there have all come through the junior section. And last season we had, I can't remember what the number was, but it was a large number of the Colts joined the first team and had their debuts this season. So the focus for me is making that transition easier, because it's kind of a scary step. These guys play as a junior, you play on a Sunday, and you train on a Sunday morning, and maybe you train on a Tuesday evening or a Wednesday evening, and you don't really meet the Saturday half of the club, the senior section. So that transition to suddenly playing on Saturday and suddenly training with blokes that are 6'6" and weigh 18 stone can be a scary thing. So what we want to do is make that as easy as possible by actually bringing a whole group. If your mates are all there, that makes it much easier. If we integrate you in training, first of all, so you don't just throw you into a second team match or first team match if you're good enough, you get used to working with the seniors over a period of time. So in the year that you're a Colt, then you start training with the seniors actually fairly early in that season. So you're not playing senior rugby necessarily, but you're getting used to the contact and the size and the speed and the way things work in the senior section. So that's important for the players, but it's also important for for parents, getting parents engaged in the process, making sure that they're happy, and the county are making sure that that's right as well, and it's making sure that the club environment is right for juniors to seniors, because this is not just a club for old guys who've been here for 50 years or for minis running around, and we need to make sure the environment is right for teenagers and young adults.
Do you think we get that right at the moment?
I think we can improve things. I think that we have done a fairly good job of managing transition, particularly in the last 4 or 5 years. But every time we do it, we learn a bit more about how to tweak it, how to make it less of an issue, and how to do it better in the following season.
So what are the, kind of following on from that really, but what are the biggest challenges that you face this season?
The biggest challenges, I guess, is that for any rugby club, any community rugby club, non-professional club, the single biggest challenge is always availability. You know, it's been availability from under sixes to Colts to first team. Is people have busy lives these days, and much as they enjoy their rugby, you know, that they go out to concerts and their mates are having parties and they're doing things. So availability is an issue, and I think we can overcome that to a certain extent by just improving the club environment. If the best thing you've got in your life, you know, the most fun thing to do is to come down to the rugby club, well, availability becomes less of an issue. So availability is always a big issue. We talked about the transition already, but the county have put significantly more paperwork around that this year as well. So getting approval for 17-year-olds to play, it needs to be signed off by their parents and by the club and by county before 17-year-olds can play in senior rugby. So that's a bit of a challenge. And I suppose to a certain extent underlying all of it is the fact that the reality is that grassroots rugby, community rugby, ain't doing all that well currently. It's just not in the position that it was 10 years ago. All clubs are struggling more with numbers, getting the right number of players to be available. I think Wycombe were doing a pretty good job of dealing with that, but fundamentally there are less people playing rugby now than there were a few years ago. That's
Often the thing we hear locally is that we have 3 very big clubs locally. So we've got Wycombe, we've got Beaconsfield and Marlow. And obviously you've got Amersham and Chiltern and Aylesbury a little bit further afield and Cheshire. And do you see that sustainable?
I think it's sustainable, the number of bigger clubs that you've just mentioned. I think the challenge is for the smaller clubs, because it's not just Beaconsfield and Henley and Marlow and Amersham and Chiltern here. You've got Drifters and Farnham Royal and Berkshire Hall and a whole bunch of smaller clubs in the area. And I think that's where the biggest challenge is. Wycombe is in a good position. We're probably going to put 4 senior teams plus a vets team plus a Colts team out this year. I know a number of the smaller clubs in the area are going to struggle to put one team out, and I don't know how we deal with that, because those clubs have got, you know, they've got players, they've got a loyalty, they've got a history, and they don't want to merge. But maybe the answer is some sort of merger. Clubs like Wycombe and Marlow and Beaconsfield will be here for a very long time to come.
Good, makes sense. What are you most looking forward to next season?
I think it's the development of the players, and in particular watching the kids that I coached. You know, as I came up through the age groups as a coach in the junior ranks, and watching those players turn into really something quite special. And we're lucky to have a lot of players that come through the junior section in the first team, and seeing them their improvement sort of week after week, and the fantastic rugby players that they become is just really exciting. I love to see that. And we've also this year, he started last season. The coach Ty has brought a whole new approach to training and to the way that we play the game that is really starting to bear fruit. We played some really exciting rugby last season, very open, lots of tries being scored, ball moving, players instead of sticking to a rigid structure, playing what they see. It's exciting, a really exciting brand of rugby, and so more of that, please. This season would be fantastic.
Good. If money was no object and you could have one thing that would enhance playing at High Wycombe, what would you choose?
I think without a shadow of a doubt, I would choose to have the club own its own land and clubhouse. At the moment, we effectively rent pitches off of the council, which means that we can't develop it, we can't look after the pitches. We have issues with people walking their dogs here, and I think the strongest future for any club if it actually owns the property. So that would be my shout.
Do you ever see a time when the club will pay players to play?
No, absolutely not. We went down that route, well, that's quite a long time ago now, and it almost killed the club at that point as we started to push for promotion by buying players in. Everything you see around us, everything you see in the community suggests it's very black and white. Either you have aspirations to be in the Premiership and you've got a backer with millions of pounds, in which case, fair enough, off you go, pay the players. Or you should not pay players, because as soon as you start paying players, you undermine what you've put in place with the transition from youth to senior. You undermine the local players coming in. They see a guy coming in, he's paid £100 a week, £200 a week, whatever it might be, and has no connection to the club, no loyalty to the club. And if you stop paying because you've not done so well, that player's disappearing. So I think that would be fundamentally wrong for this club.
Okay. This is a bit of an oddball, but what is your prediction for the position of our first 15 next season?
I think we'll do better than we did last season. I'm absolutely certain that we'll win more games than we lose this year. And I think we will be third or fourth in the league.
And over the next 5 years? How do you see that trend?
In the next 5 years, my expectation is that we progress up. We're a level 7 club currently. I think we absolutely can sustain a position in the level 6 league, which is where we were a few years ago. With the players that we've got now, the youth that we've got, with the coaching structure we've got now, with the club backing that we've got now, we absolutely can hold our own in the next league up. I'm not quite sure we're ready for it this season. So next season or the season after, level 6, and I think that will be our home for a long period of time.
Okay, thanks very much.